Washoe County Library System welcomes you to our monthly series from the Nevada Historical Society presents High Noon with Neil Cobb. This afternoon's topic is the Reno Rodeo Mural video and the historic Reno Rodeo, presented by Nevada historian Neil Cobb. My name is Jennifer, and I'm happy to be here with you today. Now, I would like to introduce Sherry Hayzorn with the Nevada Historical Society. Again, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Tim. The Washoe County Library System is wonderful, and they've worked with us for many years now and have allowed us to make our high noon programs available by Zoom, so you can watch them at any time. So we really appreciate their support. And with this year of 25 into 26, with our building renovations and retrofitting, they've been such staunch supporters and have helped us have our Nevada history series on the first Saturday every month at the library. And we want to also thank the Knights of Pythias for our Writers Wednesday. Make sure you check our website. We've got some great programming continuing and Art Town programming in July. And we just have got the flyer done and we're starting to get those sent out. Those talks will be at the Nevada Sunset Winery. So today we have our special host, of course, is also going to be our speaker, but I will be introducing the video. Today and especially with rodeo coming up in June and July around Nevada, this is a great opportunity to showcase the Reno Rodeo mural. Maybe you've seen it when you've gone around not the convention center, but where, the rodeo, the building. If you start looking at the walls along the way, the beautiful murals were done by a couple brothers. And so this is a video that the Reno Rodeo Association created back in 2024. And Neil is longtime friends with Tom Cates, and so he suggested that Neil have this as a program, and we're so happy to be able to share this today. So I'm going to start the video, and then afterwards we'll have Neil. He's got a great slideshow, so he's going to showcase some beautiful photos from his collection. So we'll get this all going. So.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Clint Wells. I'm past president of Reno Rodeo in 1981. To my left is Mike Menaberry, who was president of the rodeo in 2000. We call him Millennium Mike. And on my right is Tom Cates, past president of Reno Rodeo 2004. We're gathered here today to talk about our mural project, which was established by our 2019 100-year rodeo celebration committee, of which all three of us were on. We decided that we wanted to spruce up the Reno Rodeo grounds, enhance the looks of the downtown neighborhood, and get the arts community involved in our project. So we went ahead and secured Erik Burke, who is a well-known mural artist here in Reno, and we commissioned him to do our mural for us. And how that came about is that we are breaking the mural down into decades, starting in 1919, and
going forward to 2019.
We're going all the way up to
100 years.
That's 100 years, and we're riding forward after that.
I'm glad we rehearsed this.
Yes, and so we gave Erik a whole bunch of pictures out of our Reno Rodeo archives and segregated them into the decades, and then gave them to Erik and had him go over them, and then we gave him some freedom to establish the wall. And so Erik went ahead and put in the different types of belts that were popular during the era. and some old belt buckles that were in the area. And then he tied it together with the belt, buckles, and rope. And so what you see today is the mural, which we're proud of, and which we hope the arts community will put it on its list of mural travels and sights to see. So that's a little background of the why the mural came about. We definitely want to thank Guy Clifton, because Guy gave us a lot of the history that he had collected over the years in his book. What was the name of that book?
First 80 years.
First 80 years.
First
and that was
80 years.
Mr. Menneberry's idea to ask Guy to write that book for us.
Yeah.
I
For the
begged
millennial.
him to do it.
Yeah.
Did
But
you
it's
pay
a-
him a lot?
It's turned out to be one heck of a book, I'll tell
I
you.
can't
It's-
remember.
You can't remember. I can.
He got lots of books, though.
Yes, yes. So with that whole effort of everybody involved, our rodeo committee for putting forth the money to do this mural, and we're just tickled to death with the way it turned out, and I think it's just an added benefit to the city of Reno.
It is. You can go back, you can start at the very beginning as you walk the wall and take a look at some of the things that were on it. We have the original artwork for the first poster that was for the rodeo,
Right?
and that was a famous artist back in the day. Who was that?
Well, they had a stagecoach.
I'm drawing a blank.
Well, so did I.
It's on the poster.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is
his
on the
name's
poster.
Is it?
Oh my gosh, he's a famous author. That and my goodness.
Oh,
We should have checked before we started.
He was supposed to be here today, I think.
He's long gone.
Oh, he's long
yeah.
gone.
He died up in Montana.
Yeah.
It'll come to us before we get to the end.
Before we get to the end.
Yeah, we've got our very first president, Bill Moffett, who was a big-time cattleman and businessman here in Reno. And the whole idea for Reno Rodeo was to draw people into town on the 4th of July. So it didn't start out as a Reno Rodeo.
No.
It was Carnival of the Range. They had it. They ran over the 3 days 4th of July holiday.
Then after that, it was the Nevada Roundup.
Yep.
Yep.
And then after that, it was just the Reno Rodeo. And
The High
then,
Roller Roundup,
then the High Roller Roundup.
which we'll
started
see
in
on down the wall when we
1979.
take a look at it.
Yeah, the High Roller. And then in Lee's year, we changed it to the wildest, richest rodeo in the West.
Yeah.
And that is
Stuck.
what it is today.
And being geographically placed, it's accurate because we are the wildest, richest rodeo
Yes, we
in
are
the
here in the
West.
West.
Okay, here we are at the section of the wall that begins with the 1930s. And the president of Reno Rodeo at that time was Charles Sadlier. And he was president of the rodeo from 1935 to 1948. An interesting fact about Charles is that he actually ran the Washoe County Fairgrounds, which was situated on this site. And they had a racetrack, an oval
Oh,
track,
yeah.
where they had race horses. The barns were down where the county buildings are now. And so inside of the barns were the race horses that were in training. And some of the people that trained here were Billy Richards, and they called him Billy Wells, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And then Levi Frazier
Levi Frazier.
rode for, and some of the horse owners were Harry Frost, Harry Dracker. He had several horses here, yeah. And so they trained here. Matter of fact, my first wife was a training jockey here, along with Dave Stick's first wife. And so we kept our horses right here at the rodeo grounds, and we were here every day, 365 days a year, twice a day to feed them. So anyway, so
This part of the wall depicts the 1930s. That was kind of a dark era for Reno Rodeo because Reno Rodeo went away for probably about 7 or 8 years. And, they had the great idea. They were going to send their queen to Washington, D.C. to meet with the president, President Coolidge.
Yeah.
And they were going to invite him to come on out to Reno Rodeo, but she had to travel by train, and it took so long to get to Washington that by the time she got there, our rodeo was already over, and Coolidge's wife was sick, so he wasn't going to come anyway. But what happened is they took all the money that they had in their treasury at that time to send her on this trip. And because of that, they couldn't put on a rodeo for several years.
Well, that's not the only
Good planning.
Yeah, good planning, but that's not
Then the
the
depression hit,
Yeah.
and
Depression.
dropped the
Well,
bottom
we
out
didn't
of
have
everything.
we didn't have a finance committee in those
No,
days.
no. And well, it's a volunteer organization just like it is now,
right.
but they had 50 members and 50 directors. And now we have those. We have 29 past presidents that are still alive, and over 600 volunteers. So we have pretty much to 1,000 volunteers to
Yeah.
put this rodeo on each year.
One clarifying point, back in those days of the jockeys, the exercise jockeys and stuff, I had that as a dream. I wanted to be an exercise jockey, but you can tell that I was just not the right body type.
Were you a steer wrestler?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I wasn't. I didn't have enough lead in my caboose to throw them things.
I think we all tried something or other.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Larry Mahan motivated me to ride all 3 rough stock events, and God bless him, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Larry.
Amen. Amen.
A member of our Reno Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So we'll move on down the wall. We'll get into the 1940s.
40s.
And
That
what
was
happened during World War II.
I was born.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
You old guys.
okay, here we are at the section of the wall that begins with the 1940s. And behind us is a picture of Charles Mapes Sr. presenting the Mapes Trophy to Levi Fraser. Now, Levi was not only a jockey and everything else, but he was a rodeo competitor. He team roped and calf roped, and then
We might say too that Levi was a Native American from the Paiute tribe out at Pyramid Lake, and probably one of the best ropers that ever came out of the state of Nevada. Because he roped calves, he roped steers, he rolled all. Yeah, he did everything. He was
an
quite a
all-around
hand,
man for sure.
and he is in our Hall of Fame also.
yeah. And then we've got a picture of him in the team roping here where he's
Scooping up the heels.
picking up the heels of in the team roping. And that was the beginning of kind of like getting the community involved and starting to lay the foundation for the rodeo. And back then, we didn't have sponsors per se, but we had investors. They would invest anywhere from $100 to $200, and then if the rodeo was profitable, then we gave them a return on their investment. And finally, we did that until the late 70s.
These investors were local businessmen.
Yeah.
They saw a worth in the Reno Rodeo. They saw that it was drawing people to town and helping out their businesses, so they were pretty willing to go ahead and cough up their money.
Yeah. You know, like today, we're turning back $3 out of $1 out of every three that comes into the
Back
community.
into the community.
And back then, if you take a look at the absence of inflation, that was a lot of money back in the 40s.
You bet it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially during the war.
Oh, yeah.
It was hard to get contestants. A lot of times the soldier would come home on leave and he'd get a chance to rodeo a little bit.
Yep.
But it was tough years.
But I'll tell you one thing that really came to the surface was the patriotism that was involved during the 40s, and that continues on today.
Woodstock, you were talking about the Native Americans in the 40s.
Yeah, we had a great presence of the Native Americans and the local tribes. They came to the rodeo, set up their teepees and had powwows, and we had Indian fry bread and beans.
Well, a lot of footage you used to see of the old parades. My goodness.
Yeah,
You know, half of the parade was the Native Americans in full costume.
yeah.
And,
Beautiful headdresses
really
and everything
neat.
like that. So that kind of we had that presence from the Native Americans all the way through the 40s. Now we're at the 1950 section of the wall, and they were still present at that time, and we're so clear up into the late 70s. So we're, if you notice, the wall changed colors.
Yep.
Tell us about
50s.
that.
50s became Technicolor. And so Eric took that and he started his coloration all the way from here on down. Some pretty neat footage in there. And Casey Tibbs back here on the wall, probably one of the greatest rough stock riders that ever lived. And won Reno Rodeo several times, won the world title several times. Saddle bronc rider and
He was from South Dakota. wasn't he?
very flamboyant.
Oh, yes, he was. Matter of fact, a sidebar.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want a sidebar?
Yeah,
My
give us a
company
sidebar.
commander at Fort Knox, Kentucky, was from
Were you
South.
guarding the gold there? Or what?
Yes, guarding the gold and,
Okay.
and the tanks.
Oh, the tanks, yeah.
And my company commander was from South Dakota, and he thought Casey Tibbs was the greatest guy in the world. So I had to ask him if I could have a 3-day pass to enter the PRCA rodeo in Louisville. And he said, on one condition, that you don't get hurt. I said, well, I was riding bareback horses and pulled a little muscle in my leg and showed up for drill and calisthenics that Monday morning, and I was limping a little bit. And he happened to notice it. So he called me into the office and he said, Private Wells, he said, are you hurt? And I said, no, sir. I said, can I go to the next one? He said, yes. So we got a poster here from the 1950s, and it indicated the West's greatest show in the biggest little city in the world. And Tom,
like Reno Rodeo and livestock shows. We used to be like
We
the
had
county
a-
fair and have stock show on the side.
yeah, I wish that'd come back.
It would, but I don't think we have room.
No, we're
But
out.
again, it's on 4th of July, still a 3-day rodeo. And it really hit the big time yet.
Yeah, we got something, a copy of this in
We
the
have
museum.
a copy of the original
Yeah.
in our storage.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the 50s, and it became a very, very colorful year. And so we'll move on to the 60s. And
Or
I-
you want to move down in the 50s? We got some really important people down here in the 50s that we could
Oh, we do.
take a look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was your picture in there?
No, Ray
Oh.
Peterson.
Oh, Ray
Oh,
Peterson.
Ray
sure.
Really important guy in the
Yeah.
rodeo. Let's
Well,
go on
let's
down the wall.
Let's
shuffle
go
down
talk
here.
About Ray Peterson. Okay, as we look here in the one section of the 50s wall, we have a portrait of Cotton Rosser.
In the background here.
In the background, he won the saddle bronc riding here in Reno, and when he was a youngster, he graduated from Cal Poly at San Luis Obispo,
Rodeo in college and
and rodeoed in college, and
PRCA.
alongside of his picture is a picture of some broken bones, and those broken bones were photographs of Cotton Rosser, who got injured in a farming accident. And at that point in time, he turned from rodeo competitor to rodeo producer. And we've had,
Well, I said we lost Cotton Rosser last year, and God rest his soul. He was a tremendous friend. All three of us worked very closely with him, and he always said Reno was his favorite rodeo, and a great show producer. He came up with more ideas to bring new stuff to the table. I mean, he was more like a circus event than a rodeo.
He was the
really
P.T.
had some
Barnum
neat
of
stuff
rodeo
for
for
people.
sure.
that's for sure.
He was very concerned with the fan.
He loved Reno so much that when his son was born during the Reno Rodeo, he named him Reno Rosser. And also behind us is another legend of Reno Rodeo was
And over here.
Ray Peterson. Ray Peterson was president of the Reno Rodeo from 1950 to 1962. 13 years, and he did a fantastic job. And after that, we started into having the president just serve 1 year as the president of the rodeo, and that began with Harry Frost,
Yeah, very close.
1963.
That was the year that the grandstand burned.
Yeah.
Mysteriously caught fire one night, the main grandstand, and burned to the ground. And Harry said, "By God, I'm going to put on a rodeo come hell or high water." And he got a grandstand built in time to put on the 1963 rodeo.
Yep. No, I remember well. I was just a youngster then. I didn't join the association until 1967,
Yeah.
and I got tired of volunteering and not getting any credit.
Did you sell popcorn, or what did you do?
Oh yeah, I hawked when I was 12 years old. I was hawking soda pop in the
Attaboy.
old wooden grandstands, tagging along with my dad, and I sold more soda pop than my dad did beer.
That same 1963, I was 13 years old. It was my first Reno rodeo, and I remember my first Reno rodeo parade standing on top of a fire hydrant in front of Parker's Western Wear on Center Street.
I'd like to see you stand on a fire hydrant again, Michael.
I'd never get up there unless if you've got a derrick, I'll get up there.
Well, and as you come down here and look, this is my embarrassment on the wall.
Yeah.
Because Erik didn't have a picture of a buckstitch belt.
Yeah.
So I happened to have one that
Billy Malloy.
Malloy from the fax station made for me. And so I brought it down and showed it to Erik, and it had a tip on the end of it with my initials in gold. And I didn't know he was going to put that on the wall.
Yeah.
But when he did I take some heat?
Yeah, but what the heck?
You can
What
handle
the
it.
heck?
You can handle it.
Well,
you 100 years, you deserve that.
Oh.
A little bit of credit. For
People
Get this
next
thing.
century are going to see that and say, "Who was that
Yeah,
CW?"
who's
And they
it was
say,
CW.
"Yeah, my dad told me stories about that guy."
Right. Well, my reputation has preceded me, that's
Yes,
for
for
sure.
sure. Down to the 60s, huh?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Does anybody remember the 60s?
Okay, here we are in the 1960s,
Yeah.
and Reno had grown quite a bit, and we have a picture of the old grandstands before they burnt down in 1963. We're paying homage again to the native Nevadans, and also the ranching lifestyle behind us with brandings and things that were kind of a big help to the way rodeo started in the beginning. And so it came off of the range, and they all started betting each other that they could ride a horse better or rope a calf better or faster, and the sport of rodeo was born. And it went through all the sanctioning processes of the Total Association, the RCA, and now the PRCA.
Yeah.
Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association.
And all through the mural on the wall he starts paying tribute to some of the gals that participated, the barrel racers and those kind of things. So we see Corrine Williams' picture down there, and some other barrel racers.
And of course, he picked up a little more color.
Oh yeah,
And
it's getting brighter and brighter.
brighter and brighter.
The 60s were a colorful time, huh?
Yeah, they were.
As I recall.
Yeah.
Well, I was a dumb college student riding
Yeah.
bulls and bareback horses,
Yeah.
and loving every
I
minute.
was married in the 60s.
Well, you were.
So are you.
Yeah, the first time. The first time.
And it's not a cumulative.
No.
No, it's not. No. But rest her soul, she's gone.
Yeah.
I'm still here. So that's a testament to
Yeah.
my good, clean living now.
Yes.
Larry Mahan.
Larry Mahan, 6-time all-around champion. He won bareback, he won saddle bronc,
He won bulls.
he won bulls, and he just did it all. And we just lost him about 2 weeks ago. So another member of the Reno Rodeo Hall of Fame, and several different Hall of Fames. But just a wonderful man. We got a picture of him when he was competing, and then as he was just recently.
You know, and he did more for the making the awareness to the public of the sport of rodeo. He worked tirelessly to promote the sport and get the fans involved, get the cowboys to come out and talk so that they knew who the competitors were and got to know them a little bit better. And he was the one that started all of it.
One of the true icons of pro rodeo, for sure.
Yeah. He even tried a singing career for a while.
He sang at the Shy Clown.
Yeah, the Shy Clown used to be a famous hangout here in Reno down on
Especially for rodeo.
Rock Street, Rock Boulevard.
Known as Baldini's.
Baldini's now, and he had the Larry Mahan boots that you tucked your pants inside of and they can't clear up to your knee. I still have a pair of those.
Good.
And he'd pull those boots up, cock his hat back on his head, jump up on the stage and just start singing.
Yeah, quite
And,
a character.
What a great guy. What a great guy. And
We could continue down to the 70s now.
can we?
We'll start, yeah.
Oh, well, let's go to the
All right,
70s.
let's head on down to the 70s.
Okay. Oh, here we are in the 70s again, and we're standing in front of one of the most well-known African-American bull riders, Charlie Sampson. And Charlie was he was a
He was
character.
a character. I mean, he stood about that tall.
Yep.
And, he had a lot of heart, though.
Yes, he did. And he was a great bull
He
rider.
was an excellent
World
bull rider.
champion
World
bull
champion.
rider.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
And he won Reno.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And tell them about the year.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Mikey, you were getting that story. I'll get in
This
on
bull
the
that
tail end of it.
this bull that Charlie's on right here, I'm sure is probably the bull that, after he had ridden him, this horn caught him alongside the head, and off came his ear. And he knew he was injured, and he was walking back behind the chutes, and he said, "Man, my ear really hurts." And then they looked, and his ear was gone. Well, somebody out in the arena, one of the gate guys,
We
looked down
did.
in the ground
We were all out there.
and saw it down there in the arena dirt and picked it up.
You know who found it?
Huh.
Kenny York.
Kenny
Yeah.
York found
Kenny
it.
York
Bobby
found
Dark.
his ear, and he said it looked like a dead mouse. And he picked it up out of the dirt, and they took it and they sewed it back on, but it didn't take. And he had to have an artificial one.
Some plastic
built.
surgery
Plastic
done.
surgery done. But what a
What
what
a
a
story.
night! Yeah, they had a bunch of us were out there walking around looking for his ear.
And they were all wondering what you were doing.
I know.
And sorry, Charlie, but your ear
Yeah.
blended in with the
With the dirt.
with the arena dirt.
But toughened it didn't stop him from riding bulls.
No,
No,
it
heck
didn't.
no.
No,
Yeah.
it did
Get
not.
back on again the next night.
Yeah.
Well, we got another character here in the 70s that is still around. We ought to go down and talk about it. Mr. Tallman.
Mr. T. Yes, sir. You know, talking about another legend of rodeo
Oh, man.
and Reno Rodeo in the 1970s, Bob Tallman, who began announcing the Reno Rodeo in the 70s, Winnemucca boy, Winnemucca native.
Oh, a childhood friend of Mike's.
Yeah, up there in Winnemucca.
We never got in trouble when we were kids.
No.
That's not what Tallman said.
Well, you can take that to the bank.
Oh, I can't. So Bob, he's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in 12 Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or is that Halls of Fame?
Halls of Fame, he told me. 12 of them.
And been the announcer at the National Finals Rodeo for, I can't
9
even-
times.
9 times,
Yeah.
10 times. Still active today and announcing rodeos. He's also branched out into the real estate market, become a realtor and developing
Down in
cattle
Texas,
land.
yeah.
down in
And he
Texas.
raises cattle.
And he does our voiceover for a good many of our commercials. Great supporter of Reno Rodeo. Matter of fact, he and his wife Chris have a scholarship fund for the scholarship recipients through the foundation. Just great support.
Yeah.
He doesn't go any place and he doesn't mention Reno Rodeo.
No, just a good person.
Yeah.
Good friend. Has been for 60 years.
And he's excited about coming back.
Yep.
Just like we're excited to have him.
Amen.
Okay, here we are in the 1980s.
This is your era.
Yeah, it was. 1981 I was president. Boy, that was a little while back. You know?
Yeah.
But what we're doing on the wall here in this section is that we're starting to highlight all the different events that the Reno Rodeo has during the rodeo. And we used to start off with a wild horse race, the old Hagen brothers.
Yeah.
And we had some beautiful trick riders. And then we go to the steer wrestling and bulldogging, they call it sometimes, and bareback riding and saddle rump riding.
Yep.
So we've got all of
A
those.
lot of different specialty things we started doing.
Yeah.
You know, I got a picture of the clown down there. It was Rob Schmetz.
Yep.
That was pretty active with us during the 80s, and they depicted him on the wall. We've gone through quite a few bullfighters, and every one of them been pretty special in Reno Rodeo.
Oh, for sure. Even the current crop. Is,
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. We've got some of the finest in the country that come here. They've all been fighting bulls at the NFR for sure, and they do a great job in coming into our community and getting around the kids and going to the hospitals and
Whatever we ask them to do, they step right up
they
to
step
do it.
right up and do it. And, well, I tell you what, we really appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
But now we're getting bigger. In the 80s, when did we go to a 4-day rodeo and then to an 8-day rodeo?
1981, we started off. Well, we had 7 days.
We moved it past the 4th of July.
Moved it, yeah.
Went to the 3rd week of January. And we started adding days.
Yeah. Matter of fact, they moved it into May. And it was either snowing or raining. And,
The May's not too predictable.
Let's have a rodeo on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Bring
yeah.
your snow shovels.
Yeah. So we couldn't come back to the 4th because we lost that, and too many rodeos climbed onto that day. So we picked the last full week of June to put on the rodeo, and we went to 7 days. We started a concert 2 nights.
Yep.
We started fireworks. We had the world champion wrist wrestling contest.
Woo!
And guess what happened? The airlines went on strike, and none of the competitors could get here, so we didn't have anybody to arm wrestle. I had 300 arm wrestling T-shirts that I had to sell or give away. I had
That
to
was
give
before Bob Howell was in town, so he
well,
could step up and.
he was the one that helped me put
Yeah.
it together. So, but anyway, the concerts weren't real money makers at the time. I think the first night we had 790 people.
Wow.
And finally the,
Sell out the crowd now.
oh yeah, not like today. But it was the vision and the forethought that we were trying to establish. And like anything else, you've got to build on it each year, and it just keeps getting better and better.
In that time, there was the dreaded Saturday double performance.
Yes.
You had a parade, and then a matinee performance in the 100-degree weather, and then an evening performance. Oh, man.
It was hard.
Thanks to Tom, you turned around and said, wait a minute, we're going to evening performances where it's cool.
Yeah.
And I said, Tom, you're nuts.
Yeah, tradition.
tradition. He
We've
says,
been doing it this way all along.
all along. Don't get me confused. I'm used to going to the rodeo on Saturday afternoon. Best move that ever happened. We're in the 90s now.
Yes, we're in
Well,
the 90s.
you not, but near there.
Well, it could be, yeah. I remember them. I still remember them.
Okay.
You know, we're standing in front of the wall in the 90s, and one of the clowns that's on the wall is Leon Coffey. And he was one of the, and still is.
Oh my goodness, he's still performing
Yeah, he,
in Texas, a couple
Yeah.
of rodeos.
he was at Fort Worth, and I watched him again at
Houston,
Houston,
Yeah.
San
Yeah.
Antonio.
San Antonio.
Nicknamed the Boogeyman.
Yeah,
He was our clown predominantly through the 90s.
yeah.
And the children loved Leon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's
he was
definitely an
a
icon.
crowd pleaser with the kids.
Still wears the same green hat.
Yeah, still wears the same outfit.
Shirt,
Outfit.
same rainbow shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just a great guy.
Yep.
A great supporter of the sport of rodeo. And you know, he's no young gentleman
No,
anymore.
he's not. He's
you know.
not. But he's still.
He still gets out there as a barrel man, and he really entertains those kids.
He's 78.
78 years
He's one of
old.
the few that have been awarded the Silver Spurs.
Yes, he has.
Clowns.
Yeah, yeah. Who was the Silver Spurs recipient in 1981?
Not you.
No,
You were the president. Who'd you give your Spurs to?
Catherine who?
Catherine
Ross.
Ross, yes.
Catherine Ross.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Catherine Ross.
Boy, that was a test.
Oh, yes, it was.
Sidebar, she used to date my brother-in-law in high school.
He did?
She did, yeah.
That's before he married.
My sister, yeah. That's before she married Elliot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sam Elliott.
Sam.
Well, he was a Silver Spurs recipient.
Sure.
Also.
Yep.
Sidebar, and I was
Yeah.
working the
I like these sidebars.
rodeo office, and I worked out for 13 years after I was president, answering the phones and before we got the new telephone system. So anyway, Gene LeBlanc comes in with Sam Elliott, and he says, "Clint, have you met Sam Elliott?" And I said, "No, I haven't, Sam. Congratulations on the Silver Spurs, and welcome to Reno Rodeo, and I hope you're having a good time." And a couple minutes later, his wife walked in, Catherine Ross. And Sam says, "Clint, have you met my wife, Catherine Ross?" And I said, "Yes, I have, as a matter of fact." And she looked at me and said, "When?" I said, "I gave you the Silver Spurs in 1981. Oh, she says, "I was so overwhelmed."
She totally forgot. But they were here in the 90s because they were our
Yeah.
Grand Marshal during the
Yeah.
90s and
Yeah.
came out on the cattle ride.
Yeah.
And they were good, nice couple.
Nice. So anyway, those are the highlights
Yeah,
of
the
this.
highlights of the wall. You know, the picture down here, and I got it. You got your belt buckle with your initials and stuff. You wanted to do a picture of mutton busting,
Yeah.
so I went and got a picture of my granddaughter the night she mutton busted.
I never
And
knew
I
that.
gave that to Eric, and he painted my granddaughter on the wall.
Did you see
She's
my?
immortal.
Did you see my flip phone?
I
cell
saw
phone?
your flip phone. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you still have it in your pocket. There.
No,
No?
I had to get rid of it in 2019
No.
because I couldn't text on it. And Eric says, "Let me see that phone." And I said, "Oh, it's a flip phone." Well, they're coming back.
I
you
know. I know.
Just like my hair is
Yeah.
coming back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Let's move down to the millennial.
Millennial year. Mike's got a lot of stories there. Well, we're in the decade of 2000, the millennium year.
The millennium. Riding, roping, and racing into the millennium.
Millennium, yeah. And so we're looking behind us here is the mutton busting picture.
Yeah, and it's just, just happened to be Eric was looking for pictures and he didn't have anything good at mutton busting. So I said, wait a minute, I do have a picture of my granddaughter when she mutton busted, and I gave him the picture and he put that on the wall. So my granddaughter Riley is pretty excited every time she comes by and sees her little picture on the wall.
You know, Tom,
But,
you hid that pretty well from us because
I didn't say anything.
you know why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Kind of
She-
like my belt
She
buckle
came off.
tip.
She rode that sheep all the way out the center of the arena, and she hit, boom. She was 5 years old then, and she started crying and screaming. I wouldn't touch her because that's bad. So one of the queens picked her up. She's, oh, my booty, my booty. She had sand in her socks, in her underwear, everywhere. Oh, she told me she's got up. She said, Grampy, I'm going to still ride horses, but I'm never getting on another sheep.
You know, it's amazing how that mutton busting has grown. you
Oh
know.
my gosh, what a
we-
event now.
We fill it up during the Reno Rodeo in probably less than 10 minutes.
In less than 10, about 4 minutes and it's filled. But now we've gone to a lottery, which makes it a lot easier on our system because we've crashed our system signing people up. And the lottery gives everybody a fair chance, and it doesn't crash everything down.
Yeah.
So, but what a
that-
neat event.
Now during Kids Day, we're
We
working out
have
100
like
of
100 of them
Yeah.
out there, and it fills up instantly.
instantly.
Well, it's one of the top 3 fan favorite events.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, my granddaughter did it one year,
Yeah.
right here at Reno. I
I
said,
remember
what about the next year? She says, nope.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
And
anyway,
you know, in the 2000, we give tribute to our royalty. This Reno Rodeo that started back in the 30s,
yeah.
and we've had one every year that we've had a rodeo. We've had a
We sent
on this
one to
Reno,
Washington, D.C. on
yeah,
the
we
train.
tried. And
It was a slow train too.
Slow
It was
train
a
to
slow
Washington,
train.
D.C.
because they all were. And if you notice the communication, we had Clint's flip phone back there, and down here further on the wall, they get into the modern cell phone, and a lot of pictures of the cowboys. You know, instantly, if you watch these cowboys, they're on that phone. The minute they get off their rough stock, they're punching in, throwing pictures, sending it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Enter the next rodeo
Yeah,
and
yeah.
in the
Modern,
rodeo com.
Trying
Communication.
trying to see what they've got drawn, whether they're going to draw out or not,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
or as the committees like to call it, turning out.
turning out. Yeah.
Yeah.
They still don't understand why a cowboy will turn something
Yeah.
out.
You know, it's called money.
Opportunity to make
Right.
a paycheck.
Yeah, yeah.
We hope that we're going to go down the end and show you the last frame on our wall, but we hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of the history that we had down here, and we sure enjoyed bringing it to everybody and showing you what we have. And as Clint says, this is art. You know, there are murals all over town, and Erik Burke is one of the finest muralists in the whole world. He travels
in the world, exactly.
Yeah, he traveled. Last time I talked to him, he was in Budapest, Hungary, painting a mural.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, he is, and he's come a long way because he was sent to jail for graffiti at one time.
Yeah.
Sure.
And while he was in jail, he thought, you know, I can make a living doing this kind of art. So
And he's
Well,
doing all
everybody
right
has,
for him.
everybody
He's
has
doing
a
great.
start. Everybody has a
yeah,
start.
he's
Yeah.
a great artist and
And
a great
his
friend.
dad,
of
his dad
Reno
Tommy
Rodeo.
was a great friend of mine.
Yes, he was. Mine also.
Well, like Tom said, it's our pleasure to bring the mural to the city of Reno. I hope you take an opportunity to walk it down Suto Street, begin at Odie Boulevard. Odie Boulevard?
Audie.
Audie
yes,
Boulevard.
He was governor.
Yeah, Odie, not Odie. Yeah.
Okay, let me close that out. All right. Well, hello, Neil.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing well. So now Neil is going to share some great stories and some wonderful images from his collection, and we'll get Neil started on this. So thank you, Neil, for suggesting this as a great program today.
You betcha. What I wanted to do was to go ahead and throw a few memories at you, and that was when I was a kid in the 1940s and how we earned our way into the rodeo and so on. But before the 1940s, we needed to go ahead and show you some other photos. But we're going to go with one of my stories first, and that would be this next slide. And the way that the kids were able to work their way into the rodeo, getting an admission to it, is the Shoshone Coca-Cola bottling, and you see all of these empty bottles in the wooden cases in this back of the truck. And what you had to do is check one of those out. You rifled through all of the stands and everything. And when you filled it up, you brought it back and you got your admission to the rodeo. If you came back and you got another empty, then that and filled it up, that got you a hot dog and a Coke. Now I want to show you a couple of other photographs that just talk about and show you where it all began on the Reno Rodeo and how quaint it was. It just the bronc ride, and you can see we don't have a lot of stands and any speakers or any of the rest of it there. It's just a good old-fashioned rodeo, and showing the bucking saddle broncs. And then we get to a grandstand later on, and the reason for that was they had horse racing, and we'll show you just a little bit about that. 1931, and you see what a drawing that it had. And of course, the bottom right-hand corner, it's got a guy on, or jockey on one of the horses, but the main player there is standing up, and that's Jack Dempsey. He was behind all of that. And you see the races right here. We got the Reno Rodeo stand on the other side for a little bit now, covering it. And this would go all the way around the back side, all the way around. Next slide shows this. You see the fence all the way across on the top. That would be Sutro Street right now. And they had a lot of fun and games. And of course, this is something that isn't modern day, that's for sure. Look at the vehicles, and this is auto polo. And they had events like this that probably would be outlawed today. And the trick rider is riding the horses and jumping over that same car. We get to 1939, and this is when I was born. Now I can actually have a memory. The Reno Rodeo, and you see the fence is still up in the background, and Sparks is over there, is a tiny little town. That's 3 miles away, and you got all of that greenery looking at you. This is coming around Wells Avenue to Audie Boulevard, and that's the entryway, and you're looking off toward Peavine. And the townhouse was a very important, and actually in Reno, a famous dinner house down on First Street. And this is their entry coming from the rodeo parade. And it's got a table full of people playing cards. Now we get into some of the parades, and of course, Clint and Tom and Mike, they talked about all of the local tribe participating, and they were a highlight. They came in all of the colors and things that you expect. And so this is in front of what says Reno Bingo, and that's where Harold's Club would be. And one of the other entries, we had lots of horses and wagons and everything right under the Reno Arch. And that's the California building instead of what's there now. So that's right underneath the arch. We had the Silver Spurs started off 1949, and the first recipient was John Wayne, and he's sitting there center. And these are the Mr. and Mrs. Flick, and they were right along with him. We show him down South Virginia Street in front of Landron's and the Circus Potato Chips. And he's there in the buckboard with John Ford. We show the Silver Spurs where it first started off with Wayne. And you can't quite read the rest of these, so I printed them out for you. These are the recipients that went up to right about 10 years. Started with John Wayne, Gregory Peck, James Stewart, Gary Cooper, Alan Ladd, Spencer Tracy, James Stewart again, Glenn Ford, and back to back, Glenn Ford again, and then in 59, Red Murray. Then along came TV, and the recipients would start off with all of the gang from the Bonanza series. I wanted to show you the different flags that were across the street, and I get to that trying to identify the different states. But on this one, they're promoting a ball with these ladies putting on. So you see that on the first flag they're carrying. Then we get to what I'm interested in, and you see the flag that's up here that says Hello Maryland. This one is Hello Illinois, and all the way down here is Howdy New York. Here is Hello Mississippi. Of course, they're coming down, so it's backwards on this thing, but they're heading south. So then we've got this close-up that I took so you could really see it. And what that was all about was that I asked my dad, I said, what's with all of these Howdy Tennessee and Welcome Minnesota and all of that? He says, well, Neil, it's like this. He says, we have the world's richest and the world's biggest rodeo, and we have visitors from every single solitary state in all territories. And I said, wow. So curious kid I went out and I counted them, and all 50 of them, 48 of them were there, including the great state of Nevada with all of the participants that we had furnished from the outlying ranching areas. So on this one, another little story. This is the chuck wagon, and we got a chef that's sitting in the front and the newsstands that are in the background. Well, this is 1949, and what had happened is that the Culinary Union and the rodeo was scheduled to be July 2nd to the 8th. They went ahead and hit us with a strike. But the rodeo people themselves and the community was ready for them. And they had chuck wagons, two of them were cat-a-corner from each other on 2nd Virginia Street. Another one that was down on Center and 2nd, and then the other direction, Sierra and 2nd, down in front of the Mapes and underneath the arch. And when I showed up, and I'm a 10-year-old, and I showed up downtown heading to Modern Photo, where we had our store. And right in front of one of these, and a fella tells me, he says, hey, kid, you hungry? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he says, and he started putting a plate together, and a big old chunk of meat on this thing and a corn cob and a little bit of salad and beans. And the plate was filling over. And I carried this thing back to Modern Photo. I had no idea why I had earned this. Well, apparently I didn't. They were part of busting the union, and they had a huge, huge success for that year with all of the hospitality that was rendered by the city of Reno and the Reno Rodeo Association. We had all kinds of different floats. Greco's accordions. All kids wound up learning how to play the accordion in the 40s. That was a big deal. So away we go. The Black Mariah, and this is fun because here's all the JCs on there. And the JCs would go ahead and they would arrest people downtown that didn't have Western attire. And they had the Hooskow right on the south east corner of 2nd and Virginia Street. And it would cost them a buck to get out of the Hooskow. And they gave him a armband that gave admission to the rodeo. Everything was fun and games there. So the next one just shows a shot of it in color that we've lost track of. We don't know exactly where it is, but sooner or later it'll show. But these are, well, let's go to the next one. The Reno Rodeo, this was one of the programs that I nabbed. This is 1946. And I wanted to show you how to mishandle any of your artifacts for your scrapbook. Because the next photo shows where I had glued this thing into mine, and you don't do things like that. But this is the big sponsor, the bank club, that paid for all of the programs for them. There was other things that were held that celebrated the rodeo. And this was very popular with the YMCA, with the covered wagon trips. And of course, I was able to get a hold of one of those. The building that's in back there is the back of the state building, and that's the entrance to the Washoe County Library. I guess we have gone enough. Thanks for listening to my little bit.
Oh, that was awesome. So I was going to ask you, how did you get involved with the Reno Association as time went on? Just connections that you knew of people, or also
Well,
because of family photography? I was kind of
well,
curious.
it was easy enough because the rodeo was a big deal, period. And I had friends. The middle guy, Clint Wells, was out of my class of 58 on Reno High School. Tom Cates sits there as one of our members of the Nevada White Hats, which also this is the oldest equestrian group around. It started the same year I was born, 1939. And so you have people, Joe Fontaine had the Black Mariah across the street and they stored it there. And looking at the backyard there on the Ridgeway Court property, our home. And we were looking at the Black Mariah for 11 months out of the year. So, but that was, he was one of the shift managers at Harold's Club. And so he and got to ride in it and all of this. And it was just fun. And you associate yourself by supporting the rodeo,
Mm-hmm.
And when it got to the point where I could actually just buy a ticket instead of working my tail off getting all of those empty Coke bottles. That was, yeah. So, but these were fond memories that, this was a festive, active town, and it just had big things that would happen, and we drew from every place. So.
Now,
And the
Harold's
rodeo
Club.
this year is going to be June 19th to the 28th. And of course, that always starts with the cattle drive. And we did the cattle drive one up at the Historical Society. Remember that with Tom?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so they're working all the time on this. They don't give up. And even Mary, my bride, she worked down there with the contestants parking. So she got to know a bunch of these guys and tease with them, and there's fun stories on there. She came home one time, she's still laughing. It says they had this elderly woman, she wanted to, quiz making sure they were contestants. And here's this load, a brand new Dodge pickup, full of 4 cowboys, and it's got these world bronco rider of the world on the side, or bull rider, whatever there it was, and it's got his name on there. And the old the elderly lady asked him, he says, "And what's your name, sir?" And he says, "Such and such," and she's looking at the side. Or, no, she says, "Mr. Dodge." He says, "That's not my name." I said, "Well, what's your name?" And he said, "Well, I haven't got you listed here." So, it was funny, you know. So, but they worked hard on that. You know, she would show up at around noon, and she'd come be dragging in 11 o'clock at night. You know, so. But all of these people work hard at whatever jobs that they had to support that rodeo, and they just
Well,
they're
and
there.
Guy Clifton definitely was a longtime
Oh, Guy,
supporter,
yeah. See, I was able
and
to furnish him
wrote
with the
for the
book.
paper.
I've got a president of our homeowners out here, Francine Dornick. She runs the thing for the kids and stuff, digging up all of the money and prizes and stuff,
Okay.
that comes from the Reno Rodeo. They're major contributors to community efforts. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
definitely. And,
uh,
they even have their own collection. And I know they've been trying to work to get a museum or expand the
uh,
grounds to be able to display their rodeo association materials
Well,
too.
and the rodeo association jumped right in and with Roy Powers and the rest of it to be able to put the mural, the Herald's Club mural, and
Oh,
put that out
yes.
at the rodeo grounds. And it's just that's that's that was photographed only second to the Reno Arch. All during those years that it was on the face of the uh, 236 North Virginia Street, Harold's Club.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and Harold's Club was a longtime supporter for the rodeo as
oh
well.
yeah, well they supported everything.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did. They did actually.
yeah. So, but I hope they're able to edit out all of that blank that we had trying to get me to share on the
No
start.
problem. We can do that. I was like, I know that I have the video, your PowerPoint. I just had to find it. So,
Well, that saved the day, and well, you're my hero.
well, we thank you, Neil. And I love the idea with rodeo coming up in June and this video. It actually it was very informative, very funny with the 3 guys interacting and talking and sharing stories and side stories. So it was a great a video. I had never seen the whole. I've only seen some snippets
Yeah.
before.
Well, I got laughing. I thought it was a pro that filmed all of it, and that was obvious it wasn't a pro. So,
But
but
I
they
think it's
did a
great
fine
though.
job on there. They
They
did a
did.
job.
And
And
there was great information and Eric Burke is a wonderful muralist, and you definitely see his murals
uh,
around
you have people that
town
come to
and
town just, yeah,
Carson.
the people come to town just to see that are tuned in with where one of these walls are that
They are.
that
Yeah, and
represent rodeo.
Harps even has sometimes a mural tour in the summer. So, it's they're they're beautiful pieces of artwork. And so
Yes, they
um,
are. And
mhm.
I told Tom, I says, I'm really worried about, vandals and stuff on there. I says, are you going to be putting a seal on it? He says, Neil, we put a seal on it as soon as it was done.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
if anything happens on there, they can just, clean it right on off. So,
Oh, that's good. I mean, because do you know how long the mural is total?
as far as in footage, but it's almost the entire super long block.
I know. I just was kind of
yeah,
curious how long
and
it
it
was
just, when
myself.
it gets to the corner, it's got the last two buildings are Washoe County buildings,
Yeah.
but it's got all of that other is just, yeah, that's a long stretch. And of course, it
Yeah.
comes around into Audie Boulevard on the corner.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it was wonderful. And thank you for sharing some lovely stories and just some fun images. And I've seen historic photos over time of, the parades and other things, but I thought it was interesting you pointing out the flags, acknowledging the different states, the participants, and also the people that would come and just visit um, the rodeo itself.
Well, all 48 of them were there when I, well, you know how curious I am. I had to make sure. And I think I
I
started
believe
off
that.
looking for Nevada because that's my big deal. And
Oh,
wound up,
absolutely.
and I'm checking them off and checking them off. There we go.
Uh, well, I will thank you again, Neil. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And as always, just want to thank the Washoe County Library System and Tim and Jennifer for being our hosts and IT behind the scenes. And as always, just thank you for visiting, and we hope you'll be back next month. So I'll send it back to Jennifer.
All right. Thank you. Those were great photos of the rodeo evolution. That was fascinating. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Sherry Hayes Zorn and Neil Cobb with the Nevada Historical Society, and to Tim, this month's Washoe County Library System Tech Wizard, for making this event possible today. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.